Do I owe Rockman an apology, by the way? Rockman Jr. Now, I'm not going to give him one, but do I owe it? Would it be the right thing to do? Look, I made a piece the other day, rather scathing, about the idea that he had signed a contract and 7 days later was trying to renegotiate it and even threatening to hold up the fight. He came out at the press conference. He said, there's no truth to that rumor at all. I do not like what I'm being paid. I am the most accomplished of any of his opponents, and I am being paid the least of any of those opponents. But he was very mature to say, that was yesterday's problem. I've already signed it. I've already agreed to it. I wish I would have brought these points up. I wish I would have stood a little stronger. I think that I could have gotten more numbers. Now, I just added to what he said. In all fairness, I added to what he said. I thought he did a great job at the press conference. I really did. And I think he had Jake flustered a little bit. I went down a Rahman rabbit hole. And the only fight that I saw in completion from beginning to end was the fight that he lost, his last one. Even with that in mind, guys, this guy can box. Not for nothing, this guy can box. And I do believe that he has a built-in advantage. One thing I don't know about the Paul fight that I'm sure you guys will, but every time Paul fights, it's 8 rounds. Did they do 8 rounds for this one? I don't have that answer. But I don't believe that this is an exhibition. I believe this is a licensed fight under the New York State Athletic Commission, which would make me think possibly it's 10 rounds, but that's very relevant. Very, very relevant. And I would favor that to Rahman. By the way, if you're used to going 12 rounds, if you're used to going 10 rounds, 8 rounds just psychologically is a real break. There is nothing that a combat athlete fears more than exhaustion. If you can take the greatest fear and remove it, which is what 8 rounds would do, it's a mark in his column. I mean, in all fairness, and the guy can box. He really can. His power is not complete. His movement's not complete. I'm not saying that he can box. I will say that. He hits his target. Even if it's soft, he'll throw a 1, 2, 3 to the body. He'll go 1, 2, 3 to the head. I mean, that's the most basic. That's the one that you learn on day one. To actually go out there and do it in competition, you have to have skills. And I saw him doing these things. I don't love his defense. I don't love when anyone puts their hands down to pull back. It makes no level of sense. If you have a punch coming at you, you put your hands up. You will be stunned. How many fighters, including at this level, will go to normal human reaction? Right? There's normal human reactions that you have to fight if you're in the sport. You're going to learn them. You're going to get your opponent to fall for them, but you've really got to learn to not do them. If you have a punch coming at you, put your hands up. You put your hands up and you put that chin down. The whole reason you have your hands up and your chin down from Jump Street is so that if a guy throws a punch at you, and a number of guys have their hands up, when that punch comes, they drop the hand as they pull back. I just don't like that. I don't like that for a number of reasons. It's not what a professional should be doing. It's not what a striker should be doing. But it's also not somebody that's a second-generation guy that has been trained worth his salt would do. They would have got those habits out of him. I'm picking on him. But I'm going to have to search things to pick on him for. Jake Paul was the favorite going into this fight. I dismiss this guy. Come on. Rahman Jr. wants more money. Guy's a bum. Well, no, he's not. No, he is not. And when I did watch it, I will tell you in all fairness, I was surprised that Paul was the favorite. Because it's experts that made him the favorite. Fans haven't weighed in yet. His money and his audience haven't come to the table yet. That could move a line. DraftKings set the line with Paul as the favorite where he sits right now. He sits right here to this day. Now, there is something that's interesting about this fight, which is the size of Rahman. One thing that Paul has always done, I think it's coincidentally. I don't think he's searched for it, but he's always been the bigger guy. His brother has always been the bigger guy. They don't hide that. I want to take on Conor McGregor. I want to take on Paddy Pimblett. I'm going to take on Floyd. They don't hide that. But Jake is not the bigger guy. They do keep it quiet. They keep those numbers quiet. You got to look closely to see that Jake weighs more than Tyron Woodley. It's not something that's advertised, but I'm only sharing for you. It's not the case here. Not only is it not the case, Jake is so aware of Rahman's size that he has put a rehydration clause in there. Just to say you weigh in on Friday. Now, the way it would generally work Whatever you weigh on Friday when that weigh-in's done, you're done. You don't see a scale again in any official capacity until your next fight. They're going to weigh him in the next night. I'm quite sure in telling you that Kim Sumbler, the head of that jurisdiction and commission, is not enforcing that. I'm quite sure in telling you that that is an agreement that will affect the purse. Hey, I'm taking 25% of your purse. I'm making that number up. Something to incentivize them, right? Because at some point, a guy can say, to hell with your rule. There's all sorts of rules guys say, to hell with. I'm not following it. But there's a built-in mechanism. There's a punishment. So when you make the agreement, you think reasonably that your punishment will outweigh any desire to ignore it. But that's a very interesting talking point. I mean, if Rahman shows up the next night, he can't be above 210. If he shows up at 214 the next night, Jake's not going to cancel the fight. I mean, what if Rahman did that? Is it better to give 20% of your purse? I know I said 25 a minute ago, but whatever the number is it better to give that portion of your purse away, but win the fight? Have the advantage in the fight. Do whatever it does to take you to give you the best opportunity to have the best performance. And I'm just asking a question. You guys might think, well, obviously, yes, it is, Chael. That's a great point. Well, guys will think at it differently. What if I'm out of contract? What if I show up at 216? What if I lose 25% and I lose the fight? I mean, guys will play these games. However, they've got this structure. Jake Paul believes that it's enough that Rahman will honor it, that he will show up at 210. And then, by the way, when's he got to be 210? I mean, they're probably going to walk out of that arena around midnight. Probably about midnight in New York. They'll report to that arena no later than 8 p.m. Likely closer to 7. Does he get away in at 7? Because if so, now he has 5 hours to get himself feeling pretty good. And it's a big deal. Not just to me, not just to you guys, not just to Jake. It's a big deal to Rahman. He does not like it. He does not agree with it. He admits he signed it. He admits that's what he's going to do. But I'm sharing that with you if that is such a sticking point, if that is such a talking point, if it is a real concern by Jake. I don't think Jake had time to pick an opponent, guys. I think he really thought that Will Fury was going to show up. I don't know why he would think that, but I think that he really did believe that. I think Rahman got thrown in there. And I think Rahman's a hell of a lot harder opponent that perhaps you know. That might be good news for you. But this most certainly meets the criteria. I've seen people in the boxing world already trying to take away from Rahman. It's not because they really want to put Rahman down. They want to put Jake down. Jake goes and gets the win. They want to take away from the glorious moment. You understand that piece of the psychology. I'm just sharing with you some of those people that are doing it. I think they're wrong. I think the odds are wrong. I think Jake's up against it. I respect all of those things. I want you to know them because I want you to also respect them.